Hello guys, this is Shamsu or Shams aka. So tonight we're going to study AWS. It's currently 1:22 a.m. at night. Quick introduction about myself. I am 21 years old, living in London. I'm a computer science undergraduate studying at second year at a certain university in London. Yeah, like you can find my quick story, you can find a quick story about me on my channel description. And I'll be talking throughout what happened to me and why I'm doing this as I'm studying. Alright, so let's begin. Shall we? Alright, so I'm learning from this course here. It's called this website, learn.cantrell.io. So this is the AWS course. I have done about 4% of it. I'm not going to go over the past bit. These are the bits I have done. Let me know if you guys want me to start all over with you guys so you guys can learn along with me. But otherwise, I'll just continue from the time I left, the 4% that I left here. So I think last time, yeah, I was here. I am admin user and adding MFA to I am admin user here.
And review, make sure everything's as it should be, and click on Create User. Now, if you did have AWS Auto, and then we need to set
I'm quickly gonna
the permissions which this IAM user has. Now, you can either add a user to an IAM group, which...
Alright, just give me a sec. Let me hide this window capture. Alright, you guys can probably a screen view. Okay, there you go. So right now you guys cannot see anything. Let me quickly go to my AWS console and log in here. Sign into AWS console. I am admin. I think I have got the account already. Enter MFA code. I think I set this up as well. So that is authenticator. Microsoft authenticator from here. Okay, there you go. Admin services, admin. Sign in. There you go. Okay, we're signed in then. Okay, can watch it back now. I've signed in successfully. So I'm on my console right now. Okay.
already has those permissions. You can copy permissions from different IAM objects, or you can attach policies directly. Now, to keep this easy, I'm going to attach the policy directly because there's already an administrator access policy that we're going to use. So scroll down, locate the administrator access, check this box, scroll all the way to the bottom, and click on Next. Once you've done that, go ahead and review, make sure everything's as it should be, and click on Create User. Now, if you did have AWS auto-generate password on your behalf, you'll need to note that password down. In my case, my password manager already has that, so I don't need to do anything else, and I can return the users list. Now, it's worth noting at this point, AWS stressed this via this info dialog. If you haven't noted the password down anywhere else or downloaded the details, you can't access this password again, which would mean you need to reset it. Now, at this point, if we logged in to this IAM user using the IAM access URL for this account, we would have admin permissions, but we only need the IAM username and the password. To make this secure, in the same way we did with the account root user, we're going to apply multi-factor authentication. We're going to do that in the same step. So we're going to click on IAM admin, click on security credentials, scroll down, and in the same way that we did for the account root user, we're going to assign an MFA device. So click here. Just like we did this previously, you'll need to give it a name. Use something descriptive so you know where this MFA is stored. We'll be using Authenticator app again, so check that box. Click on Next. Now we get an error that the MFA device already exists, so click on Previous. I'm going to call this Adrian Proton 2 to keep it unique. Click on Authenticator app, click on Next. Now just like before, you'll need to make sure you're using a compatible application. You'll need to click on Show QR Code, scan that code into your application, and then enter 2 consecutive MFA codes. Just like before, I'm not going to show this for security reasons, so you should follow this process, and once you've done that, click on Add MFA. At that point, the MFA is added, and we should...
Services admin. Check back now.
objects where you can attach policies directly. Now, to keep this easy, I'm going to attach the policy directly because there's already an administrator act.
Fantastic. This course, I have done about 4% of it. I'm not people that I left in. So, I think last time, let's quickly go to
objects where you can attach policies directly. Now, key this will be click on create user. If the account root user, we're going to assign an FA device. So click here, just like we did previously.
You know what I just realized, guys, from watching the live stream myself, is that I should be doing 50% of it like this. 50% of my screen should be this, my notebook, and the other 50% should be the website itself. Okay, there you go. So don't let me adjust it. Okay, there you go. So here you can see this is 50%, this is me open the notes app, notepad. This should go here, notepad. Alright, let's check it now. Then now you guys can see it more clearly. Here's my notebook, here's my AWS learning portal. Hopefully it's a lot better now. Okay, there you go. Alright. So time to take notes.
Test it out to make sure it works. So go ahead and click on the drop down next to the account ID and click on sign out. Remember this time we're going to sign in as our IAM identity, so we're going to need the IAM sign in URL that we noted down earlier. Now when you open that URL, you're going to be asked for the sign in URL to the general AWS account, which is this one to do in this video. So go ahead and complete the video, and when you're ready, I look forward to you joining me in the next.
Okay, I have already watched this video before, so that is complete.
All that with multi-factor authentication. So far, welcome back, and by this point, you've got
access keys. Access keys are how the AWS command line. Access keys are how AWS command line tools, CLI tools, interact with AWS accounts. This lesson provides an initial high-level introduction to how access keys work, including their capabilities and some risks. Okay, complete.
Set of working AWS accounts. You can configure the account security, add build alarms, set up IAM and create an IAM admin user, and then complete all that with multi-factor authentication. So far, the AWS access that we've experimented with has been using console UI in a web browser. It is possible to access AWS using the command line, or even within other applications using APIs or application programming interfaces. Authentication via the command line is not done via username, password, and MFA. It's done using IAM access keys, and that's subject to this lesson. So let's jump in and get started. Access keys are long-term credentials available within AWS. They're not the only type of long-term credential that you need to be aware of, and all long-term credentials are used with IAM users. If you're authenticating to AWS, and you're doing so using an IAM user identity, then generally you'll either use a username and authentication, and then welcome back, and by this point, you've got a set of working AWS accounts. You've configured the account security, added billing alarms, set up IAM, and created an IAM admin user, and then completed all of that with multi-factor authentication. So far, the AWS access that we've experimented with has been using console UI in a web browser. It is possible to access AWS using the command line, or even within other applications used.
Okay, so let's start making notes as well.
using APIs or application programming interfaces. Authentication via the command line is not done via username, password, and MFA. It's done using IAM access keys, and that's the subject of this lesson. So let's jump in and get started. Access keys are long-term credentials available within AWS. They're not the only type of long-term credential that you need to be aware of, and all long-term credentials are used with IAM users. If you're authenticating to AWS and you're doing so using an IAM user identity, then generally you'll either use a username and password when using the console UI, or access keys when using the command line interface. Now they're called long-term credentials because they don't change regularly or rotate. You, as the owner of the credentials, have to explicitly change them, for example, updating your password. Access keys in many ways are similar to the username and password that you've used. A long-term credential that we've experimented with has been using console UI in a web browser. It is possible to access AWS using the command line, or even within other applications using API.
Okay, so what do we use access keys for? So I'll make a quick note here. And it is possible to access AWS from command line. All right. So that is one reason why we need the access keys for. We don't always go to the websites and access AWS from web, and also access it from command line, especially when it comes to accessing it through API keys.
Application programming interfaces. Authentication via the, or even within other sets that we've experimented with has been using console UI in a web browser. It is possible to access AWS using the command line, or even within other applications using APIs or application programming interfaces. Authentication via the command line.
It is possible to use AWS from command line or within other applications through APIs.
Is not done via username, password, and MFA.
So it says, so these times when I use it through APIs, we don't use any password, MFA, or username. I simply use the keys, IAM access keys.
It's done using IAM access keys, and that's the subject of this lesson. So let's jump in and get started. Access keys are
Hold on, I might as well hide this window capture device. Alright, I'm gonna hide myself because I'm too cute. My face is pretty distracting you guys.
long-term credentials available within AWS. They're not the only type of long-term credential that you need to be aware of, and all long-term credentials are used with IAM users. If you're authenticating to AWS and you're doing so using an IAM user identity, then generally you'll either use a username and password when using the console UI, or access keys when using the command line interface. Now they're called long-term credentials because they don't change regularly or rotate. You, as the owner of the credentials, have to explicitly change them, for example, updating your password. Access keys in many ways are similar to the username and password that you've used to this point, but there are a number of crucial differences. An IAM user has one username and one password. It can't have any more. Now you can actually...
Okay, an IAM user has one username and one password. They cannot have any more than that.
Create IAM users, which are only used for command line or API access, and for those, you don't need to assign a password. So a password on an IAM user is actually optional. The important thing, though, is an IAM user can't have more than one username or one password. Now you can change the password.
An IAM user can't have more than one username or one password,
but it only ever has a maximum of one at a time. Now if I ever refer to credentials...
Important point here. So, an IAM user can only ever have one username and one password.
Throughout this course, and a username and password is an example of a set of credentials. There is normally a public part and a private part to those credentials. With usernames and passwords, the username is the public part of those credentials and the password is private. You don't need to worry too much if somebody knows your username, but if they know your username and password in conjunction, then that's known as a credential leak, and you're in trouble. An MFA is just another private part to your credentials. It makes it harder to leak the full credential set. The first difference with access keys is that an IAM user can have two sets, two access keys. It can have 0, 1, or 2, but never more. Access key
Okay, an IAM user can have two access keys.
can be created if somebody knows your username, but if they know your username and password in conjunction, then that's the first different leak, and you're in trouble. An MFA is just another private part to your credentials. It makes it harder to leak the full credential set. The first difference with access keys is that an IAM user can have two sets.
Okay, so the difference between the traditional password and username compared to the access keys is the first difference is that an IAM user can have two access keys.
Two access keys. It can have 0, 1, or 2, but never more. Access keys can be created, deleted, made inactive, or made active. And logically, they default when they're created to be the active state. Now, like username and password credential sets, access keys are actually formed from two parts. The first part is the access key ID, and the second part is the secret access key. The access key ID
So let me make a quick note of this. Very important. So an IAM user can have two access keys. An IAM user has two access keys. Remember, guys, like this stream is only here to show my journey. I'm not really trying to earn any money out of this or create content. It's just purely there to keep myself accountable, nothing else. Hope you guys understand this. Okay. Alright, I'm back. Alright, let's keep going then. Access keys can be created, deleted, made inactive, or active. That's the next key point. So an IAM user can have two access keys, and these access keys can be created, deleted, made inactive, or made active. So these access keys, oh my gosh, my terrible handwriting. Access keys can be created, deleted, made inactive, or made active. Can be created, deleted, made inactive, or made active. Made inactive, So he also says that when they're created for the first time, by default they're put into active mode. So by default they are set to active mode. Also, he mentions that by default, like also he mentions, oh my god, my ADHD is kicking in right now, and I'm losing focus. I hate this so much. I'm telling you. Okay, so what he said, I'm trying to remember this. Like it was literally in my head just now, which I've forgotten. Let me recall. What he said was by default they have. I mean, when a access key is created, the made they're set to active mode by default, right? And the other said and the other thing he said was oh yeah, I can now remember. Access keys can be maximum of 2 for one account, so they can be 1. No, they can be 0, 1, or 2. 2 is the maximum they can. So a user can have.
Parts. The first part is the access key ID, and the second part is the secret access key. The access key ID.
Okay, so access keys have 2 parts. Okay, let's get a new page. Oh my god, what is this? Alright. Oh my god, this was my plan. To keep on learning. Yeah, man, I never follow any plans. Okay. Hope you guys can see this. Why is it so bright for? Oh my gosh, maybe this just needs to go away a little bit. This, no, that is the wrong way too flipping bright. How about this goes dim? Too bright? No, I think. Oh, can you guys even see if I write something here? How do I move the camera back? Hold on. Okay, there you go. This is good. Oh god, I hate this light. Okay, even this ain't too bad. As long as you guys can see it. Can you guys see it though? Right, let me go to the video device properties and then configure video brightness to auto. Nope. There's a contrast, brightness, hue, saturation. Okay. Looks pretty bad, I can't lie. Okay, this should be quite good. Yeah, okay. So So, what is next? Access keys. So we have learned you know what, burn you guys. Let me study in peace. I don't care what you guys see. Let me just do my thing. Yeah. So IAM keys, IAM access keys. So it's continued here. Characteristics of access keys. Hope you guys can see this. So that is IAM access keys continued. IAM access keys. Alright, access key ID. So two of the characteristics are ID access key. Access key ID. And the other thing is secret access key. Secret access key is the other characteristic. Okay, let's continue.
Looks something like this. And the secret access key, that's longer and more complex. When you create access keys, and I use that term to refer to both parts of the credentials, AWS provides both of these to the secret access key. The access key ID looks something like this. And the secret access key, that's longer and more complex. When you create access keys, and I use that term to refer to both parts of the credentials, AWS provides both of these to you. So you're given both the access key ID and the secret access key when you create that set of credentials. Now, once you're initially provided with both the access key ID and the secret access key, from that point onward, there's no ability to get access again to the secret access key. AWS does get access to both parts like this. And the secret access key, that's longer and more complex. When you create access keys, and I use that term to refer to both parts of the credentials, AWS provides both of these to you. So you're given both the access key ID and the secret access key when you create that set of credentials. Now, once you're initially provided with both the access key ID and the secret access key, from that point onward, there's no ability to get access again to the secret access key. AWS don't allow any future downloads of the secret access key part of a set of access keys. You can only ever see the access key ID. So it's especially important at that initial time, when you're provided with both, you note down the secret access key and store it safely and securely.
Okay. So so this is important. And let me just repeat what he said. What he said was, when you create a set of access keys for the first time, like when you get the access key, when you create a credential for an IAM user of these access keys, we are provided with the access key ID, which is the smaller username, and then the secret access key, which is more like a long password, very complex looking, and we must store it somewhere. We must store it securely because it's very important. And the other reason we should store it very securely and write it down somewhere possibly, or make a note of it, is because we don't get to see this again twice. So we only get to see this once, we don't get to see access keys twice.
When you make a request to AWS using the command line interface, you use both of these parts, so the public part and the private part. Now, the access key ID in many ways is like an IAM
access key. Okay, I'll just add AB's username, and then long complex password. All right. So access key ID is more like username, and secret access key is like a long password, and that is provided only once. Provided only once. Very important that we make a note of it. Very important that we make a note of it. Alright.
Username, and the secret access key is like a password. So the public part and the private part.
So when trying to access the account, the IAM account from the command line, I'm trying to access the IAM account from the command line. We need to enter both the public, which is access key ID, as a KID, and the private, private secret access key. Put into the terminal. This is
now the access key ID in many ways is like an IAM username, and the secret access.
So access key is in many ways is like a username.
Key is like both of these parts, so the public part and the private part. Now the access key ID in many ways is like an IAM username, and the secret access key is like a password. If you let anyone have access to the secret access key, then it can be used to act as that IAM user. So you need to be really sure that whenever you store the access key ID and the secret access key, you keep the secret access key safe and secure. Now, if you do misplace the secret access key, or you're concerned that your credentials have been leaked, then you can't change the secret access key. You need to delete the entire access keys, that's both parts, the access key ID and the secret access key, and then recreate it. And that will give you a brand new set of credentials. So a brand new access key ID and a brand new secret access key. Now,
they cannot be repaired or like reset. So say these details get leaked, I'll make a note of it. If details are leaked, they cannot be recovered. User must delete and generate a brand new user must delete and generate a brand new set of access keys.
If you have any command line interfaces or applications which are configured to use access keys, and you make that set of credentials inactive or delete them, then the command line interface or application will stop working until you either make it active again or generate a new set and then update those command line interfaces or applications with the new details. If you ever hear the term rotating access keys, it simply means to create a brand new set and remove the old one. It's no more complex than that. That's why an IAM user can have two sets. Generally, if you're utilising the first set, then to rotate them, you'll create a second set, update all of your applications and command line utilities to that new set, and then delete the old one. Now, with the exception of the account root user, which can also have access keys, although that's not recommended, IAM users are the only identity to delete the old one. Now, with the exception of the account root user, which can also have access keys, although that's not recommended, IAM users are the only identity which uses access keys. The only identity that uses long-term credentials. IAM roles don't use access uses to that new set and then delete the old one. Now, with the exception of the account root user, which can also have access keys, although that's not recommended, IAM users are the only identity which uses access keys. The only identity that uses
So IAM users are the only users that
use long-term have access keys, although that's not recommended. IAM users are the only identity which uses access keys.
So the root user could also have access keys, but it's not recommended at all because it's highly risky. It's extremely risky. But
So the only identity which can also have access keys, although that's not recommended, IAM users are the only identity which uses access keys.
So IAM users are the IAM users are the only identity that uses access keys.
So the only identity that uses long-term credentials. IAM roles don't use access keys, and I'll talk more about those in the IAM users access keys. So the only identity that uses long-term credentials. IAM roles recommended. IAM users are the only identity which uses access keys. So the only identity that uses long-term credentials.
Oh my god, I'm just on the capture on my ears cannot hear this. Let's hear it again.
Credentials. Although that's not recommended, IAM users are the only identity which uses access keys. So the only identity
that uses long-term
credentials.
So the only identity that uses long-term credentials.
IAM roles don't use access keys.
So the IAM users that only uses the access keys.
And I'll talk more about those in the IAM section of the course later on. For now, I just want to introduce the basics. It's security related, and I want you to understand how it works from the offset. Now that you've learned the theory of access keys, it's time to experiment. Now we're going to have a demo, and in that demo, we're going to create access keys in both the general AWS account and the production AWS account. Once you've created those access keys, I'll be showing you how to download and configure the AWS command line tools, and as part of that process, you'll be using these access keys and configuring the command line tools to be able to connect to both the general and the production AWS account. So at this point, that's everything you need to do. Go ahead, complete this lesson, and when you're ready, I'll see you in the next.
Alright, so that's what we have learned in the last note. So, root users can also have access keys. Except that is very risky. Also. And what we should do is what do you call that thing? So IAM uses the only identity that use access keys. IAM users are the only identities that uses access key. Oh my god, this guy just doesn't realize that he's streaming right now. What is gonna happen if people see him singing? Oh my god. There'd be a mad thing setting. Okay, this has been 40 minutes, and within 40 minutes, what have I done? Not much. 7 minutes of 7 minutes and 10 seconds. So how many seconds is that? 430 seconds of explanations. It took us about 40 minutes. Oh my gosh. It's literally 2 at night. And I'm about to sleep now. So I'm gonna stop the live streaming. Hopefully I'm going to study from here onwards tomorrow. So stay tuned, guys.
Welcome back, and in this...
Yeah, so that's the next session. How long is that? That's 20 minutes. That's quite a tutorial next one. So guys, yeah, make sure you come here again tomorrow. Hopefully we'll study together again. For now, bye bye. Oh, how do I quit? How do I quit?